Jai Sai Ram. We are now going to start with chapter 26 of the Satcharitra. The preliminary. All the things that we see in the universe are nothing but Maya's game, which is the creative power of the Lord. These things do not really exist. What really exists is the absolute, the real absolute. Just as we mistake a rope for a garland or a stick for a serpent in the darkness, we always see things as they outwardly appear and not what is real. It is only the Sadguru who opens our eyes for our understanding and enables us to see things in their true light and not as they appear. Let us therefore worship the Sadguru and pray to him to give us true vision, which is God vision. In today's times, in New Age spirituality, this is called projection. We see things based on our experience, our fears, our desires, so to speak, our good thoughts and bad thoughts. We mis-see and mishear things all the time. We fall in love with ideas of what people are rather than what people really are. And that is where a Sadguru can remove our ignorance, our projections, our memories, pasts, strategies, ideas, opinions, and mind games and help us see things exactly for what they are rather than what we hope they might be or fear what they might be like. Continuing with the Satcharitra. Inner worship. Himmat Pant has given us a novel form of worship. Let us, he says, use warm water in the form of tears of joy to wash the Sadguru's feet. Let us besmear his body with sandal paste of pure love. Let us cover his body with the cloth of true faith. Let us offer 8 lotuses in the form of our 8 sattvic emotions and fruit in the form of our concentrated mind. Let us apply to his head black powder in the form of devotion and tie the waistband of bhakti and place our head on his feet. After decorating the Sadguru with jewelry in this way, let us offer our all to him and wave the fan of devotion to ward off the heat. After such blissful worship, let us pray thus: Lord, introvert our mind, turn it inward, help us discriminate between the unreal and the real, and attain non-attachment for all worldly things, and thus enable us to attain self-realization. We surrender ourselves, body and soul, to you. Make our eyes yours so that we never feel pleasure or pain. Control our mind and body as you wish. Let our mind attain peace at your feet. Now let us turn to the stories of this chapter. Bhakt Pant. Once it so happened that a devotee named Pant, a disciple of another Sadguru, had the good fortune of visiting Shirdi. He had no desire to go to Shirdi, but man proposes one way and God disposes the other. He was travelling in a train where he met many friends bound for Shirdi. They all asked him to accompany them and he could not refuse. They alighted in Bombay while Pant got down at Virar. There he asked his Sadguru for permission to go to Shirdi and after arranging for the expenses, left with his friends for Shirdi. They all reached the place in the morning and went to the masjid at about 11 a.m. Upon seeing the concourse of devotees assembled for Baba's worship, they were all pleased. But Pant suddenly had a fit and fainted. They were all frightened, but they tried their best to bring him to his senses. With Baba's grace and with pitchers of water poured over his head, he regained his consciousness and sat upright, as if he had just been awakened from deep sleep. The omniscient Baba, knowing that he was a disciple of another Guru, assured him fearlessness and confirmed his faith in his own Guru by addressing him as follows: Come what may, stick to your bolster, which is his Guru, and always remain steady and in union with him. Pant at once knew the significance of this remark and was thus reminded of his Sadguru. He never forgot Baba's kindness in this regard. The next story is called Harish Chandra Pitale. There was a gentleman named Harish Chandra Pitale who lived in Bombay. He had a son who suffered from epilepsy. He tried many allopathic and Ayurvedic doctors but was unable to cure his son's epilepsy. There remained only one remedy, resorting to the saints. It has been stated in chapter 15 that Das Ganu, by his inimitable and splendid kirtans, spread Baba's name and fame in the Bombay Presidency. Mr. Pitale heard one of these kirtans in 1910 and learned that Baba, by his touch and mere glance, cured many incurable diseases. A desire rose in his mind to see Baba. After making necessary preparations, which included presents and fruit baskets for Baba, Mr. Pitale came to Shirdi with his wife and children. He then went to the masjid with them, prostrated before Baba, and placed his sixth son at his feet. As soon as the child was placed before Baba, the child immediately rolled his eyes and fell down senseless. His mouth began to foam, his body began to sweat profusely, and it seemed that he had breathed himself out. Seeing this, the parents became very nervous. The boy used to get such fits often, but this one seemed to last much longer. Tears began to flow from the mother's eyes. She began to wail and cry that her condition was like that of a person who, being afraid of robbers, ran into a house which collapsed on him, or like a cow who, fearing a tiger, ran into the hands of a butcher. Then Baba comforted her, saying, "Do not wail like this. Have a bit of patience. Take the boy to your lodging. He will come back to his senses in half an hour." They did as directed by Baba and found that his words came true. As soon as he was taken to the Vada, the boy recovered, and the whole Pitale family was delighted. All their doubts disappeared. Then Mr. Pitale came with his wife to see Baba and prostrated himself before Baba. He humbly and respectfully sat shampooing Baba's legs, mentally thanking Baba for his help. Baba then smilingly said, "Aren't all your thoughts, doubts, and apprehensions calm now? The Lord will protect those who have faith and patience." Mr. Pitale was a rich, well to do gentleman. He distributed sweets on a large scale and gave Baba excellent fruits and pan. Mrs. Pitale was a very simple, loving, and faithful lady. She used to sit near the post staring at Baba with tears flowing from joy. Seeing that she had an amicable and loving nature, Baba was very pleased with her. Like gods, saints are always dependent on the devotees who surrender and worship them with heart and soul. After spending a few days in Baba's company, the Pitale family came to the masjid to ask Baba for leave. Baba gave them udi and blessings and called Mr. Pitale close and said to him, "Bapu, I had given you 2 rupees a while back, and now I give you 3. Keep these in your shrine for worship, and you will be benefited." Mr. Pitale accepted these as prasad, prostrated himself again before Baba, and prayed for his blessings. He was puzzled by the fact that this was his first trip to Shirdi and could not understand what Baba meant when he gave him 2 rupees and said that he had given him 2 rupees previously. He was curious to have this mystery solved, but Baba never explained it. Mr. Pitale returned to Bombay and narrated everything that happened to his mother. He also told her about the 2 rupees. She too did not understand the mystery initially, but upon thinking about it more seriously, she was reminded of an old incident which solved the mystery. She said to her son, "As you now went to Sai Baba with your son, so had your father. He took you to Akkalkot for the darshan of the Maharaj many years ago. That Maharaj was also Siddha, a perfect yogi, omniscient and liberal. Your father was pure and devout, and his worship was accepted. He then gave your father 2 rupees to keep in the shrine and worship. Your father worshipped them accordingly till his death, but thereafter the worship was neglected and the rupees were lost. After a few years, the memories of these 2 rupees also disappeared. And now, as you are very fortunate, the Akkalkotkar Maharaj has appeared to you in the form of Sai Baba to remind you of your duties and worship and to ward off all dangers. Now beware henceforth, leave off all bad thoughts, doubts, and follow the path of your ancestors and behave well. Go on worshipping the family gods and the rupees and take pride in the blessings of the saints. Sai Samartha has kindly revived the spirit of bhakti in you. Cultivate it in your benefit." Hearing the mother's remarks, Mr. Pitale was very delighted. He was convinced of Baba's all-pervasiveness and the significance of his darshan. From that time on, he became very careful about his behavior. The last story is called Mr. Ambadekar. Mr. Gopal Narayan Ambadekar of Pune was Baba's devotee. He worked for 10 years in the Akbari department in the Thana district from where he had to retire. He tried to get another job but did not succeed. He was overtaken by other calamities and his condition grew from bad to worse. He endured 7 years in this condition, visiting Shirdi every year and placing his grievances before Baba. In 1916, his situation got to its worst point and he decided to commit suicide in Shirdi. So he came there with his wife and had been living there for 2 months. One night, while sitting in a bullock cart in front of Dikshit's Vada, he decided to end his life by throwing himself into a nearby well. He proposed to do one thing, but Baba had other plans. Just a few paces from this place was a hostel whose proprietor was named Mr. Shagun. Just as Mr. Ambadekar was thinking of ending his life, Shagun approached him with a book in his hand and said, "Have you ever read about Akkalkot Maharajji's life?" Ambadekar took the book from Shagun and began to read it. Casually, or perhaps providentially, he came across a story which was to this effect. During the lifetime of Akkalkot Maharaj, a certain devotee suffered very much from an incurable disease. And when he could no longer endure the agony, he became desperate to end his life and threw himself into a well one night. Immediately, Maharaj appeared and took him out with his own hands and advised him thus: "You must enjoy the fruit, good or bad, of your past actions. If the enjoyment is incomplete, suicide will not help you. You will have to take another birth and suffer again. So instead of killing yourself, why not suffer for some more time, exhaust the fruit of your past deeds, and be done with it once and for all?" Upon reading this appropriate and timely story, Ambadekar was very surprised and moved. Had he not gotten Baba's hint through the story, he would have been no more. On seeing Baba's all-pervasiveness and benevolence, his faith in Baba was confirmed and he became a staunch devotee. His father was a devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj, and Sai Baba wanted him to walk in his father's footsteps and continue his devotion to him. He then got Sai Baba's blessings and his prospects began to improve. He studied astrology and gained proficiency in it and thereby improved his lot. He was able to earn sufficient money and passed his later life in ease and comfort. Bound to Sri Sai, peace be to all. We see through these stories that Baba has different plans for different people. With Damu Anna, we saw that his astrological learnings were of no avail, and here Mr. Ambadekar's life improved because he started learning astrology. We also see how Baba was perhaps a continuation of other Sadgurus. As a previous chapter had shown, Sadgurus all work together under divine providence, and here too we have seen examples of that. Baba did not ask other people to abandon their existing Sadgurus and yet continued the work. Baba comes again and again and shows us that he knows what is best for us. What is required from us is the humility and the love that Mrs. Pitale had shown. Let us trust this learning, accept it, and surrender our lives at his feet. We will start with chapter 27 in the next video. Jai Sai Ram.